Hi all, welcome to another chess24 Banter Blitz. Okay, so it's approaching 11:30. Let me just show you the amazing voucher code you can use, Kingscrusher, to get 15% off premium membership. With premium membership you can challenge the likes of the world champion, Magnus Carlsen, super grandmasters when they do Banter Blitz, like Peter Zvidler, etc., international masters, and even bunnies like me on Sunday. Okay, so let's go to the challenges list, and the first challenge today is Alan. Oh, is it Olin? Olin? Okay, so e4. I'll try e4 and knight c3. Let's try this Grand Prix attack system. I have some good positions with it recently. Grand Prix attack. I'll put the bishop over here. And I have been playing the outrageous h4. I think I'll try that here. The outrageous h4, which no one's prepared for. I've knocked out a few IMs of this ridiculous idea recently. I wonder if Leader or Stockfish will find it an important innovation in the future. H4, because I have a specific idea after h5, which is also ridiculous. Although I think I have lost to this on here once, or twice maybe. It's not all non-controversial. We'll see. So h5 might be a reaction. Oh, I don't mind that one. Oh, this is dark square bishop issue. I don't mind the pawn sack here. I've had this in an over the board game. I think the dark square bishop could be very dangerous here across those raw dark squares now. Let's see. Although I could be overestimating everything. I mean, okay, I can take it here now. Now it looks as though these dark squares, they could be a problem for black, not too distant future. Maybe h5 here. Try and extend the scope of the rook, if nothing else, even if it doesn't have a major attack potential. I think just extending the scope of the pieces is always nice in any case. So h5. Okay, so if I play hg, so I've got a nice target there. If knight takes, there's the crude queen h5. Right here, okay, so queen f3 here, maybe. It's nice that the double pawns, actually, they serve a function here as well. I wonder if bishop b2 is too controversial. It weakens f4. Maybe I want to play later g4 and f5 against h6. Maybe bishop d2 is better, actually, than bishop b2, because f4 could be an issue. f4 could be an issue. Anything else? Bishop d2, castle queenside, double the rooks. I mentioned last week about combine and win. I'm happy to report I think I have had some very interesting games with that simple kind of rule of thumb, combine and win. I think it's got something going for it. Here, isn't there a sparkling finish with f takes, rook takes, bishop takes, and because the knight's covering f6, after king over there, isn't bishop f8 mating? Now either I lose the queen or this is mating. This would be a great spectacular start game, wouldn't it, if this worked out? F takes, rook takes, bishop takes. Trying to work this out. King moves, bishop takes. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. You know I'm gonna do it. I'm either gonna be embarrassed or it's pleasantly surprised. Oh, hang on. I think there's a snack here. He's got rook h3 or bishop h3. I might need to change this slightly with g takes, because otherwise, yeah, there's problems here with bishop h3. I've just realised. Oh, that ruins it. Okay, g takes then. G takes. I've still got some threats, but it's not as sound as I felt. Okay. But if he moves the knight after, there's bishop g5 winning the queen. I've got to remove bishop h3 as a resource. Yeah. It's still dangerous. c4, bishop c4, it's still pretty dangerous. It looks pretty dangerous. I think it's worth a punt, this. It's a good wake up, isn't it, in the first game to do a queen sack. Alright, so we're saying here, I'm saying, well, there's bishop g5 winning the queen anyway, if I want to just cash out. The thing is, with bishop f8, he's got king g8, so I think I should just cash out, just winning the queen back. Okay, so the brilliancy was ruined because of the use of the h3 square, I'm afraid. But I think d5 drops off after this. It's still very good. d5's dropping off. So I'm still material up. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I thought that was dangerous. The departure of the dart square bishop is always, for me, it's a good sign. Okay, I'll try knight c3 here. So the Dunst, which I nearly took out Peters Vidler on last Sunday, so, but then lost horribly. Yeah, but that's my claim to fame. So f4, knight f3. Oh dear. So d4 and bishop takes f4 or h4 here. h4 or bishop c4, maybe h4. A bit undecided actually. Okay, maybe queen d3. Maybe I need to try and castle queenside. So this Dunst opening, yes, very dangerous. Dunst, knight c3, underestimated. The Dunst, or the reverse tango as I like to call it. I think reverse tango is a more interesting name than Dunst. Okay, so king d1. Okay, I'm going to put my king over on the queen side. b3, king c1, b2. I'm happy that there's fragmentation here to work with later. So I'm going to just put my king on b2. Okay, for a moment. I hope in peace. I just want some peace over here. King c1 to b2. But there's always a g3 and a pawn set to open the h file as well. Okay. If b takes, there's more fragmentation over here. I think g3 ignites the h file, but I suppose f3 is weakened. Okay, here now I'm hitting f4. Oh crikey, bishop a6. There's c4, but yeah, bishop a6 is dangerous. My queen's lacking squares. c4, bc, queen c3. Okay, I'm a bit in trouble there with bishop a6. That's a shame. That opens up a semi-open b file as well. Okay, so I expect bishop a6. So I'm threatening knight takes. Does he give up the light square bishop? Because that could really be good on f7 there, or that diagonal. If he's giving up the light square bishop. If he plays queen f6 though, okay. Alright, e4 is a bit vulnerable. Maybe bishop d3. g3 is always, it seems tempting to play g3 at certain points. Okay, so bishop c3 coming up. I'm hoping there's fragmentation occurring here. a5, d6 of cd. It's very aggressive play, but I'm hoping there's a fragmentation downside here to black's play. Although he's getting the e5 square now. This isn't that clever, is it? Huh. Right, he's getting the e5 square. It's not a very comfortable position with black getting the e5 square, to say the least. But can I work with it? Right, queen h3. Maybe knight b5 coming up, or knight f5. Knight b5 looks a bit safer on the b file to use that b5 square if I can do that. Knight b5. That looks cozier for my king. Knight b5. Although in this case c3 is that will target d6 as well sometimes. I think I'm interested in knight b5 here. Okay, so knight b5. Do I need to hold up c3 because tactically there's probably some stuff going on now on c3. I got knight and queen, but I don't think that sometimes that's not going to be enough because chess is such a cruel game. So maybe rook ac1. The rook's not doing anything at the moment on a1. Bit of prophylaxis, rook ac1. Because chess is such a cruel game, you need prophylaxis a lot of the time. Rook ac1. Yeah, I just don't think the rook on a1 is that. Oh, bishop. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Bishop e5. Let's think. My thinking cap's gone there. Bishop takes e5 because of the pin. Okay. Obsessed with prophylaxis there for a moment. I was determined. Okay, to do that. Bishop takes e5 surely is a good bet here. That was a classic weakness of the last move, bishop e7 weakening e5. Yeah. All right, so now I can queen c3. All right, yeah, interesting. That was, I think that was a bit dodgy the way I played it. A bit dodgy. Okay. Magnus Carlsen, okay. Magnus Carlsen, okay, got it. So I'm playing this Miles check. Well, some people have played this check to put pawn on c3 here, rather than the old classic bishop c5. So is this an upgrade on bishop c5? Immediately. Alright, there is queen. Is there queen f6 here as an option? No, there isn't in this case. There isn't queen f6 as an option. Actually, that justifies the c3 pawn. Because then there's knight d4. That's a key difference, actually. Oh, that would have been very, very silly. That would have been very, very silly commentary saying it's an upgrade. Yeah, Queen F6. Yeah, Knight D4, and I'm pieced out. That would be funny. Oh, I just realised. Yeah, okay, that's an important thing. That Queen F6 variation, yeah, is affected. So anyway, D6 or Queen H4. What about Queen H4 here or D6? Queen H4 here seems... why am I tempted with Queen H4? Fascinating. I'm going to go with Queen H4. This rings a bell somewhere. I think I have analysed this recently. When the knight departs F3, you can actually get away with very silly looking Queen F6. The other thing is the pawn's pinned to the bishop. Any E5, there's Queen C4. The other thing is Knight F6 to G4 is a heavier punch than usual. Okay, so Knight F6 is now interesting because I'm looking at E4 and C4 here. And there's also like D5 if ED Queen C4. So I think this is quite interesting. But do I risk my king in the center if I played D5? For Bishop G4. Alright, if I just castle here for a moment. And then D5 and then Bishop G4. The queen... Is the queen really having the responsibility of holding the bishop there? It looks uncertain, this, after Bishop G4, if the queen's really holding that bishop. Because Bishop G4, Queen D3, there's a pin, and then there's C6. Is that really possible, the queen's holding the bishop? Okay, Bishop G4 or Knight G4? Maybe Bishop G4 here. There is the meek Queen G3. Queen G3. Okay, Queen G3. Alright, maybe I should just double the pawns here and use this file quickly for a small edge, I hope. Maybe it's more than a small edge. You know, Bishop E2 looks dangerous because there's sort of clogged pieces here for a moment. So Bishop E2 looks like a good idea to try and get onto that F2 if Bishop takes like this F2. And to double the rooks. Okay. Alright, so I can immediately just win some pawns here, which is very tempting, and I can't resist munching some pawns. I still control that file. So I think I want a rook on the 7th, and not to heal the opponent's pawn structure. I'm also looking at B2 here. So if I can double the rooks and then rook B2, I think that'll be pleasant. There's also doubling the rooks, Knight G4 for rook E1 coming up. Okay, so if I double... okay, there is Knight D4, maybe... okay, Knight D4, but rook E1, Knight G4, H5. Looks like some sort of mating net is emerging. King H4, it's almost like a mating net. Nearly. After H5, King H4. The pawn's a bit loose though. You know, rook E1, King H2, Knight G4, King H3, H5, there's King H4. And the pawn on H5 is loose. Would I play G6 and is there King G5? Or is there King G7 there? You know, maybe it's worth going through that anyway. All right, let's look at this in more detail. Knight g4, then h5, then g6. Okay, I'm convinced this is sort of dangerous. So rook h1, king h4, g6, king g5. I prevent knight f5 when I play g6 as well. When he plays king g7, I play king over here. So I'm going to be playing king g7 and then f6 later. So basically, what I'm saying is, you know, king g7, rook h1, king g5, f6. Okay, so f6 is being prepared here. F6, and then king f4, and then g5, and there's king f5, and there's rook e5. That's checkmate there, isn't it? So f6 looks strong here. f6, king f4, g5, king f5, rook e5 is checkmate. Yeah, I think this was worth doing. This is winning a rook, because king h4, there's rook h1. Alright, thanks. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I did actually, because I have been preparing the Scotch game with black, I did actually note, you know, in the immediate knight takes c6 variations, I did actually make notes philosophically to myself, not too many days ago, that my old strategy, you know, use your best resources on squares around the opponent's king. I won a tournament in 1989 just crudely following this idea, but this variation ignited my interest in that, because you don't really want to put your queen next to the opponent's king when they're repulsed. So there's a qualifier here. You can play very direct chess with your queen near to the opponent's king if it's not that repulsable. And the repulsable would be like knight d2 to f3 that quickly. But I think in that situation, sometimes you get enough speed, so you can do that as long as they're not repulsable, using, you know, your best resources around the opponent's king. I found the variations quite shocking with queen h4. So there is a bit of preparation here on this queen h4. It's sometimes more justifiable, basically, when the resources are not repulsable, to use your heavy mob, just to go straight, you know, just squares around the opponent's king. That was, you know, I was observing that from. I looked at a few variations recently in the Scotch. Okay, so knight c3. So bishop c4. All right, so rook e1 and knight e5. All right, this looks like bishop f4 is interesting. This is a trendy like line, but it looks like d5. What's going on here with the king in the center? Is it in there too long? d5? Yeah, I don't know if it just made me confident, but when I won this Lloyd's Junior in 1989, I literally had this kind of heuristic, like used like the best resources around the king, and I did try and get my rooks and queen generally around the king, and you know, later it didn't really work. But yeah, if it's a general kind of heuristic, it actually can be interestingly qualified to say, look, if you're going to play moves like that, just make sure they're not easily repulsable, those attacking pieces. I think that's a very interesting qualifier. But in that variation of the Scotch game, if or in general, when a knight leaves f3, the idea of playing queen h4, I mean, you get that in the Marshall Gambit, for example. When white wins a pawn in the Marshall Gambit, all of a sudden, you know, it's more dangerous, you know, things like queen h4. So, okay, rook takes e5 here. Looks like a nice pin with the bishop still. What's going on here? This looks as though the king is in the center right now. Now, rook d8, c4, b takes, queen a4 is interesting. But maybe more straightforward is just queen e2 on e7. In fact, much more straightforward is to focus on my opponent's absolute pin, inconvenience here. So I'm just going to target e7. Yeah, I mean, I think actually, coming to think about it, the Marshall Gambit is a classic example where the black pieces really do visit, you know, the opponent's king. There's a bishop c7 here. Isn't that very dangerous? Bishop takes c7. What's going on here? So I think bishop takes and trebling. All right. Okay, I'm going to get mated if I do that. Okay. What about, okay, f3. Can I get away with f3, or is there bishop f3 and my rook is loose? Okay. Isn't there, no, there's not rook e8 for bishop d6 because queen takes. G3. G3 might be better. There's still bishop f3. Right, bishop g3 is one thing. Let's check this out again. f3, bishop f3 is interesting, isn't it? For a moment. Queen take, I don't want to indulge that. g3, I'm not sure I want to indulge. Although, yeah, there's always bishop f3 at the end. So I think, to conclude, I think bishop g3 for a moment. To conclude, it doesn't commit any pawns. It safeguards the king. It lets me treble on the e-file. I think this is the least commitment. And I just, if I can treble, I mean, the rooks are not connected, right? So my things are like combine and win here, principle, on e8. If I treble, that's a definite combine and win. Like you would pin and win. That's definite combine on e8 here. Okay, so rook e8 is looking good. All right, there is. All right, so h4 is coming up. Maybe that's true. Maybe this is. Maybe that's true. Maybe black's pieces are okay. That's a shame. I should have maybe stopped h4. I can stop h4 with bishop h4 here. Maybe that's worth doing. Bishop h4. Right, that holds the rook. This is getting all a bit sophisticated, isn't it? Holds the rook. There's queen g4, and my opponent's got more time. Queen g4 could be a, oh no, could be a pain. This is rook f7. This is getting complicated. Rook f7 on queen g4. Alright, c3 for a moment. Yeah. Yeah. How about queen f3? That's a nice pin. Pin and win, queen f3. Fratton's rook takes e6. Also queen a8, technically. So rook h4, queen a8. Oh no, no, no. Then the rook's loose. Okay, I don't want to lose on time. I think I have to make a decision here to try and get to the opponent's king with queen d2 here. Maybe queen d8. My pieces are being gobbled potentially in these lines. Queen d2 here threatens the queen and queen d8. So queen d8 is dangerous, I would hope. Queen b6, it's just material up, isn't it, for white, is it? Okay. Oh, well, I don't mind that. Plunge in here. I think it's easy to use the queen in this kind of situation, generally. Okay, h4. Alright, so queen e4. That's queen check. Check. Alright, queen d4. I have to make use of this pawn majority, so b3. Alright, let's check here, winning a pawn on h5. Alright, let's check here. Alright, now I'm ready to have queen for 2 rooks. Oh yeah, interesting, yeah, no, maybe I'm getting in tactical difficulties there with loose pieces. I'm not sure. Okay, thanks. Ryan Shaw. That rook c4, yeah, it seemed really quite nifty, actually, to undermine e7. So g6 and bishop g7. I do have something against this, which is this early bishop f5. And I'm going to try and use this g file soon. Okay, that's good because I think I'll win b2. And c3 maybe. Is that a bad test though? Because I lose b7. I'm not losing b7. Doesn't matter. Maybe taking out a2 is better than taking out c3. Mind you, that's more of a central pawn than a2. I think, okay, I'll take out this more central pawn. Now my knight. Oh, there's knight e5. Okay, I'm being super greedy here. Am I going to be punished for this greed? Trying to take out all my opponent's central pawns. Queen a1, is that possible? And queen's gonna come back out, isn't it, with a vengeance? I hope. Queen f6. Can I just... Yes, I think before my queen gets lost, let's put it back. Let's restrict the knight for a moment, just in case. Try and take the c file. Queen c3 coming up here, just to simplify. Okay. Maybe because of those rook c1, maybe, or maybe it doesn't matter. There's d4 after, doesn't matter. e5, knight d3, f6. I think these pawns are being pushed. Pawn pusher. Knight d3. So e5, knight d3, f6. e5, knight d3, f6. Yes, because e5 promises e4. Alright, so e5 pushing these pawns, two connected pass pawns, emerging in the center is usually a safe bet. Alright, so here, or d3. d3, knight d5, d2. I'll take this guy. Yeah. Alright, thanks. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, it's not often I have to play Queen A1. That was a bit. That didn't seem very natural to me to play Queen A1, but okay. But anyway, was the Queen trapped in some variations? Did I miss the Queen being trapped? Oh dear. It's only a 3-minute game. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe there was something I missed about that. Would he accept this gambit? Because I love this gambit. I absolutely adore this gambit. I usually do well from this position. Because of castling queenside. I beat Zagulko crushingly in a bullet game recently from this gambit. He gave me this G file. I just used it. He doesn't usually get checkmated, but he got checkmated. Okay, so it has to be bishop h5, right? Because this G file is a killer here. Why is there hesitation on bishop h5? I wonder, because that looks natural to go to g6. Interesting. Well, there's knight e5 here for bishop f6 and knight d7. This is looking dangerous. I was rook e8 and a backfire on pinning me with rook e8. Alright, there's knight d7 for bishop f6, treble pawns here. That looks as though I should go for that treble pawn scenario. In fact, with knight d5, there's knight f6 after, immediately. So knight d5, threatening knight f6. And in fact, there's queen h5, maybe rook d4 to h4. A rook left, not d3, g3, but rook d4 to h4. So there's a possibility of queen h5, rook d4 to h4. No, I think this is overall quite dangerous now. So queen h5, rook d4 to h4 is an interesting idea. Maybe. That will give me queen h6 and knight f6. If I have a rook on h4, queen h6, knight f6. Okay, there's a break with g4 which might open up the h file. If f4, that's loosening the knight squares a bit if f4 has to be played. Oh, okay. c3 gives rise to rook d4 here. If I need rook d4, c3. I think that's nifty to play c3. I don't think there's any key squares of the queen there. Okay, it's looking at d1. I think c3. Oh, there's queen e4. Hang on, there's queen e4. So in other words, maybe g4, back to the g4, because this does promise g takes from rook g1. g4 looks interesting as well. Okay, I can't really decide on things here. I want to open up a G file rather than just taking, if I use that as a lever to open up the G file. Okay. Right, G5 is immediately giving me a queen h6 now. This is very powerful, isn't it? Queen h6 and knight f6. It looks very powerful indeed, the G file and f6 and h6. All of a sudden. In fact, I underestimated that. I didn't even see this possibility until now. So g5, there's an immediate threat set up of queen h6 and knight f6, as well as g takes and rook g1. There's a lot of threats here now. If fg, queen g5, queen f6, and rook g1 is mating. Yeah, that looks powerful. Okay, so queen h6. I'm overestimating. Alright, okay, I think I might have overestimated. But anyway, knight f6, threatens a mate in 1. There is rook g8 to defend things. Okay, rook g8 defends. I'll encourage that defense. Or queen f6. Queen f6 gives rise later to h4, h5, h6. But how quickly is my queen challenged on f6? Actually, that is interesting. It controls d8 here. I think I'm going to go with this rather than the other one. I think b3 some air for the king, or h4, or b3, maybe h4, h5, h6. Controlling d8. If queen c6, queen f4. Queen c6 looks at h1 as well. Right, this looks at h1. Okay, so h5. Oh, he's looking at h1. I don't like that look at h1. And there's also queen g6 now. So it's not over. And there's no rook d8. Rook d8 is queen h1. That weakness of the last move. If he uses the other rook, it's not check. If he uses that rook, it's not check. Alright, I can take on f4 here. I think I need to give some air for the king. b3. It's only a pawn up after all that. It's only a pawn up here. I'll put this form pawn in. Submit my form pawn. Okay. I think exchange of queens. I don't mind to have two form pawns. Yeah, it's a big clock advantage as well. Okay, thanks, Teja. Yeah, that's interesting. Slow learner. Okay, so I don't like this knight c6 anymore. So just doing a bit of research. Bad Chagorins, knight c6. This Mexican defense hasn't been disproved. Okay, knight f3 is really annoying. Okay, I still might strike at dark squares with c5 though. Okay, I'm going to some sort of King's engine. So he's ruled out the Simish variations of the King's engine. That knight blocking in the f pawn and the 4 pawns attack. So we have this. Okay. So ED and rookie A. Oh, there's nothing there to drink. There is a bit of coffee left here. Yeah, okay. Alright, so B5 looks as though this has annoyed me with the white pieces when they fling in B5. It's as if I've been too slow with the king in the centre. Alright, interesting. I think A4, A3 is not really going to give up the dark square bishop. Surely not. A4, A3 is, I don't know if I'm relieving the tension in the position, and that could be some sort of problem later if I did play A3. Or is it worth it? Maybe bishop A6 here, because that light square bishop, yeah, I like, there's options here of A3 and B3. I don't want to necessarily shut that down just yet. Okay, knight takes, there's actually queen takes, but then knight takes. Okay, I think a knight, if he doesn't play that, knight c7 here, knight b5 to d4. If there was a3, b3, it means knight b5 is more meaningful, because I think there's c3. If there is any meaning for a3 as a sort of endgame investment, maybe it should be played soon. a3 for knight b5. a3, you wouldn't play b takes rook a3, that's too much pressure on a2 and f3. If he leaves a pawn there, if he plays, okay, a3, b3, is it actually worth it or not? That's really intriguing, if it's worth it or not. Okay, I'm going to try it. Okay, so knight d7 here. This knight might not be a good piece sometimes. If I swap off the better knight, leaving that knight, I don't think that piece has got too many options for a while. So knight e5, bishop f5, bishop e5, f4, bishop d4. In fact, I sense there queen d7 to b5. If ever I took, there's a passed pawn potential. Okay, so knight e5 here though. And so this knight's not brilliant at the moment, but it might be supporting things like, okay, there's f4. If f4 is played, there's always going to be queen h4 later. Is that? Queen h4, or maybe I should have. Okay, queen h4 here. And I think I should have played the rook to e7 actually. Alright, I can maybe double the rooks here. e5, just double the rooks. If he's playing g3, he's weakening light squares. Queen h5. If, okay, e5 coming up. Knight g1 might be interesting. How does white defend e4? Okay. g5 here. Try and weaken the dark squares. If I can encourage f5, then there's no e5 break after f6. It also gives my queen an escape back to f7. Alright, that's interesting. The e5 square is more under my control here, surely. I would imagine f6, king g7, rook h8. Keep a lock on. I'll do that away from the queen. So I want to play f6 and rook h8. Alright, so where do I want that? That's g6, I like g6. f6. So I'm threatening rook e4. I like queen g6 from a nostalgic point of view. One of the Spassky versus Fischer 1972 games with the queen on g6 I thought was super cute. When Fischer played a queen to g6 in a sort of Benoni. Knight b5 to d4 would be a nice square for the knight. This knight hasn't got many prospects right now, apart from d4, that plan. Let me see if I can insert that plan. Okay. Oh, the endgames should be good. Because the form pawn from earlier. The punchline here. The A3 plan earlier. Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, yeah, interesting. Goggin Paul. Okay, so I'll play this crude Grand Prix attack system. But if d5, I will try and double the pawns. With bishop b5, bishop c6, I'll vary. If there was an immediate d5, obviously I can't play bishop c4. So king h1. Try not to justify the queen on b6. Bit of prophylaxis. Alright, so bishop a2, queen e1, f5. Okay. Is e5 plausible? Is it too weak? I'm going to give it a shot. He has blunted my bishop. Alright, can I not just take that though? Bishop e4, he traps my bishop. C4 might be interesting, but I can end up with a weak d5 pawn, can't I? If he took... I don't know, c4... Or maybe c4. I'm not sure about it. Okay, if I take... Maybe bishop f3, because I think it's a liability when he takes on d5 for me. Even if immediately I can't see it, it's the liability of the pawn. Hitting that pawn. Queen g3 protects e5 still, and there's bishop h5. And rook fe1. So queen g3 and rook e1 actually. The rooks might be doing something here. So queen g3, rook e1. Okay, protect h3 as well. Okay, so bishop h3. h4 is plausible. Alright, so bishop h5, bishop g4. Am I being greedy for pawns here? Alright, if I take this off and try and get my king off file. Alright, queen g4. Get the queens off. Oh, okay. That was dumb. Okay, I shouldn't have left that. Maybe there's f5, f6. Alright, threatening bishop h6. Okay. If I try and put more pressure on f7. Yeah. Okay. It's not clear at all now. Great. I combine and win on f7. Principle though. Okay. In principle, just combine on f7 as the default plan here. So rook d f1 is the only thing I'm thinking about here right now. The queen's got responsibility for d4, I suppose. Queen e6, queen d4. Okay. If d4, if d3, queen c4. Okay. There's bishop c3, tactically. Trying to use that pin. It's a naughty move. I can't see a refutation of bishop c3. It's a sort of pin exploitation. But my king's on this diagonal. His king's on that diagonal, which makes it tastier to take out that pawn. Maybe it is a good move, bishop c3. Okay. e6 is on the cards. Right. Okay. Maybe a rook on the 7th. Yeah. Well, there's bishop e3 and rook h3 here. Or rook f6. Isn't that checkmate? Yeah. Okay. Maybe bishop c3 was good. All right. Thanks. Prom night. Hi there. So this is the Dunst opening, or reverse tango. I don't mind this at all with white because I feel my feeling when I get this position is that it's winning for white. It's so winning for white. That's my feeling objectively. I don't know what it is. But I think my win rate from here is approaching, like, it's more than 90%. I don't know. Okay, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not winning for white. Okay. Knight takes g5 though is so, oh crikey, it's so tempting. It's so tempting. I have to do it. Oh crikey. It's like, I'm lazy, right? And the rook, if you just use a rook from its default location, that's good for the lazy player. The lazy player's guide for rooks. Just use them where they are. Leela does it. It must be okay. The neural network. Okay. So here we go. So queen h5. f4. Why isn't this winning? Okay, maybe it's not winning. Maybe I'm overestimating. F4, E5, knight E4, knight F6 looks winning to me. But that is quite a few moves. Yeah, that is quite a few moves. Okay, so queen. Okay, maybe it's not winning. F6. It's not that easy. Come on. All right, so queen H3. Okay, it's not that easy at all. Okay, back to reality. Queen h2 for knight h5 though, or queen h3 encouraging e5. That's knight f5. Let's encourage. No. It's not that easy. Queen h2 looks like a silly move, but it does mean knight h5 is possible. Just keep some options open here. I have blocked up my own attack, of course, with the pawn on h6. The thing is, like knight h5 to g7, knight h5 to f6, they look like as though that pawn could be dangerous anyway later. Okay, so I'll put this bishop back for a moment. Immediately, I have a sort of idea knight h5 to g7 could be unpleasant. Why? I mean, black doesn't want to open up this h file, yeah? So knight h5 to g7 gives me some square pressure with a knight on g7. That looks like a lot of fun, knight g7. The knight's not doing anything there on g3 anyway. So knight g7 is the first point of torture. There's no knight f3. Okay, so knight g7. In fact, I'm threatening queen at e5 now. I've just disconnected h8 from e5. Okay, there is knight. Maybe there's knight g4. It's a shame. I can't refute knight g4. Knight g4, knight g4, queen h5 maybe. Queen e5, queen b2. Oh, I should take this piece. King e2 or castling. Maybe king e2 to keep the pawn protected. Queen c2, rook fc1, rook hc1. King e2. What's wrong with king e2 here? I can't see what's wrong with king e2. Anything? Right, d3 for bishop a6. Yes, I see. Chisel d3 for bishop a6 to be effective. If I play bishop c4 here to stop bishop a6, is there b5 or something? I don't think there is immediately. Bishop c4 might be good to try and trap the opponent's queen here, I would hope, and stop bishop a6. So I want to try and trap the queen. If that's possible. Might not be. Oh, if I give up that pawn, there's a mechanism here for rook hc1, queen b2, rook ab1, queen a3, rook a1, queen somewhere, rook the other one to b1. I think there is a process for trapping the queen. Okay, queen f6, maybe for a moment. That's on f7. I can try and trap the queen after. I'm still holding f4 against knight f4 because he is pinning my bishop. So I think queen f6. It's not knight f4. So let's see how this winning the queen works. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, doesn't work at all. Winning the queen. Okay, that's a shame. Oh, crikey. Oh. All right. All right. Bishop b5. f4. Maybe for f5. Is f5 doing anything? Right, so if I play queen takes, because I don't want my king exposed, I think queen takes. Or is it worth it? Maybe it's worth it. So king f2. Maybe it wasn't worth it. Oh, I've only got 24 seconds. Oh, I mean, he's come out of trouble here. I think it's pre-move time. Oh, crikey. A queen f5? That could be handy. Oh, I was getting in trouble on the clock. The clock really crept up there. I didn't realise the clock was creeping up, but that was a big threat to emerge here, actually. Queen f5. Wow. Okay, thanks. That was really quite exciting. I thought. It was a time pressure blunder, I think. Don't be hard on yourself there. Big time pressure blunder. I thought I was, it was going to lose on time or something there. It was only a few seconds. Could have gone either way. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think I should have bought. Let's get on to the next. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm being a bit more brutal than the old 10 seconds thing. Okay, I play white. Dunst opening. The killer Dunst. I'll transpose into... I like the Grand Prix attack style transposition. I prefer it with the G6 though. Bishop g5 and queen h4 here. So that opens up my bishop, that pawn sack. I was hearing a podcast the other day with not Maxim Delivery, no, Joel, I think it was Joel Benjamin. He said a lot of players, they don't like giving up pawns or exchange sacrifices. Perpetual podcast is really good. Ben Johnson. I've been listening to that while walking around the garden recently, picking up some tips. Yeah, he was saying players under 2300 apparently, well, when he did the interview, maybe it's changed a bit, don't like sacrificing the exchange or pawns unless they can see concrete, stuff. I had a view on that when I was checking out these amazing exchange sacrifices, like of Nakamura or whatever, I think the trick is to try and, personally, I think the trick is to try and look at the sort of trends of the possession. As if there's a sort of upward trend, then it's, maybe you can consider it's a good bet. You don't have to calculate all the way to the end on things. Okay, so knight d5 holds the bishop, and I've still got queen h6 as a threat. So queen h6. Alright, so I can't play, well, maybe I can, rook f3, rook h3, rook h5. Because I'm just thinking, the rook on c1, I've got my queen on c1. So rook f3, it's crude, but, I think it's quite dangerous. cd, rook h3 is quite dangerous. If rook g8, rook h5, yeah, I think this is going to be dangerous, rook h3 to h5. So cd, rook h3, rook g8, rook h5. Unless I'm mistaken, it's possible. Okay. Right, thanks, Enoch. Yeah, interesting. Martin. Martin, hi there. Okay, so bishop b5 coming up and taking the pawns. So this is like a reverse Nimzo Indian strategy, sort of. And queen e1. So like in Nimzo Indian, c5 is like a target, and Nimzo Indian it would be c4 in reverse. Maybe I should stop h3. So there's a blockade strategy: b3, a4, bishop a3. Okay, let's get the king out of any potential danger there, though. b3, bishop a3. b3, a4. Okay, I'll close up over here. So c5 is the target to fix. Restrain, blockade, destroy. b3, a4. Bishop a3. Okay, there's activity over here. What about knight h2 to g4? That should block that stuff over there. I can carry on the c5 arch plan, the c5 arch plan, which has not seen any steps yet for implementation. c5. I just want to put a can on this stuff over here. Okay, here we go. First step: a4, b3, bishop a3. Okay, restraining c5. However, is this a big deal? Okay. What's wrong with knight e5 here anyway? Why isn't knight e5 just winning a center pawn? Yeah, what is this about? Let's play knight e5. Isn't that knight f6 winning the exchange? Out of interest. Knight f6. Oh, I have to put on hold the c5 plan. I was looking forward to that positional play, but I've been forced to do this other stuff now. Okay, it's really inconvenient. Queen h4. Okay, bishop f4. I have to pick up all this stuff. I just wanted a c5 plan. Okay, but anyway. Bishop takes f4. Okay. So e5, and then if bishop e7, f6, e5, f6. Well, there's e6 for e7. E6 for e7. Or bishop d6, still e7 maybe. Right, so e7. Right, so I'll take this guy. I'm going to just take c5. Finally, I got my c5 plan. Okay, the c5 has fallen. Okay, that's the important thing. c5 has fallen. Okay. Okay, my king, though. This is not funny if my king gets it. Okay, rook f2. Queen d4, queen e5. Oh, okay, what about the check? Can I evict the queen? It seems too useful there, the queen. What about rook e7? There isn't something nasty I'm missing here, is there? I hope not. So, there's bishop b6 here. Alright, thanks, yeah. Okay, thanks, Martin. Yeah. Dunst. Martin went for me. That's, I think, a sign. Very dynamic, aggressive player in the making. He really went for it. I had to really just be the material grabber that game. So here, f4 looks pretty nice, and strengthening the center first. Oh no, do I have to change plan? Oh, it's really annoying. But knight c6, b4 looks like I'm blocking in that bishop. I don't know if that's objectively the best plan. I guess it is. The bishop there doesn't look right to me. Okay, knight e2. Okay, maybe there's a5. Okay, c3. This bishop doesn't look right here in the structure. I wanted a hack attack, but yeah, it's with regret. I'm going to have to change to a positional plan here. Okay, it's all about the b6 bishop for the moment, because it can't even get reroute on this diagonal with the pawn on c7. If I can just lock it out of the equation here, the equation being the position. So c3, just try and lock out this bishop for a moment. Okay, so can I afford f3 without a tactical disaster? So c3. Okay. Maybe king h1, knight f4. If bishop g6, just win a pawn over there. In fact, why could I not play knight f4 immediately without king h1? Knight f4 immediately. Okay, so g4. All right. Okay, I see. If I just take and then f4, that looks good. Try and shred open the king here, and the f file. And there's fragmentation. If there's isolated pawn outcome, it's easy to target them, especially with this bishop outside of the game. It's a good prelude actually to an attack with this bishop not being relevant. So I'm hitting the knight. So knight f4, bishop f4. It's all fragmented after queen h5. It's diced up. I mean, maybe even rook f4. Alright, let's take this guy. Yeah, it looks that was a problem, that bishop, I think. Oh yeah. Okay. Ryan, I think this might be coming up to the last game here. Okay, Ryan. Knight c3, the killer Dunst again. Okay, 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, on support. Take it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's other people who haven't played actually on that queue. I just realised. Let's play someone I might not have played. I can't from non-premium. Dangerous Ride 3-minute game. Okay, here we go. So Tony Miles has good stats with this, with black against e4. This Nimzovich with aggressive dark square strategy. Okay. Maybe that's not ideal. Okay, what does white do here? What does white do? HG, FG, don't know. Right, okay. I've got the H file. Maybe that's not terminal. Rook H3 looks interesting for a moment. Okay, maybe putting my king on G8 for a laugh. F3, what, F4, King G8. King G8, Queen F8. Okay, so that hook is useful sometimes. Queen F8 to F3. I got this idea actually just from that FIDE game with white, actually, with Rook H6 in one of the variations I was analysing. So if you play the Dunst with white, you get ideas with black, etc. I think it's a major refactoring of ideas and for both sides. But yeah, in the FIDE game, in one of the variations, there was a Rook H6 hook. So I'm just remembering it here in reverse. Okay, so G takes. Yeah, I played FIDE in the Dunst. Sorry, I'm not sure I mentioned that. Okay, and I had good position, I felt. So here we go. So Queen F8 here. If E5 or if F5, then there's knight E5. He's not playing F5 because of knight E5. Is he playing E5? Maybe there's bishop F5. Can I not just nick a pawn in the meantime? Let's do this, doesn't it? What does that do? I don't know what it does. It looks good. Okay, so just waiting for this square to happen. Knight E5. In fact, there's Rook D3 here. That pin. Rook D3 or Knight D3. Which one? The knight holds against F7. So maybe Rook D3. If F7, Knight F7. After Rook D3, Queen F4. Rook C2, King G1. It looks as though I should be doing well there. Okay, so knight F3. All right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, that was fun. Okay. Until next week. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this week. Remember the premium code Kingscrusher. Let's review that again. So get 15% off with this voucher code Kingscrusher at chess24.com/premium. Get to challenge the likes of like the world champion, etc. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this week. Thanks very much. Okay. Cheers then. Until next week. Comments, questions, like, share, subscribes on YouTube. Always welcome as well, by the way.